The topic, never compare yourself with others, is something I hold close to my heart because it's a lesson I've had to learn and relearn over and over again. Let me start by saying this: you are one of a kind, and that is your power. But I get it, it's easy to forget that, especially in a world where everything and everyone is put on display. We live in a time where success, beauty, and achievements are measured by likes, followers, or the perfect picture. Every scroll on social media makes it feel like someone else is doing better than you. And you know what? I've been there too. I've looked at someone else's life and thought, why don't I have what they have, what they have? Why don't I look like that, dance like that, or achieve things as fast as they do? But the truth is, comparing yourself is like chasing a mirage that gets you nowhere and leaves you feeling empty. When I started my journey, I was an outsider, literally and figuratively. Coming from a different culture, I had to work harder to prove myself. People doubted me, underestimated me, and sometimes they even tried to make me doubt myself. I would look at others who seemed to have it all figured out, those who had their connections, their confidence, and their perfect paths laid out. And there I was, fumbling through auditions, dealing with rejection after rejection, and questioning whether I even belonged. But the moment I realized that comparing my journey to theirs was pointless, my perspective changed. Here's why comparing yourself is so dangerous: it steals your joy. It makes you blind to your progress and your blessings. Think about it: every time you compare yourself to someone, you're essentially telling yourself that you're not enough. And that's the biggest lie you could ever believe. Nobody else has walked in your shoes. Nobody else knows your struggles, your sacrifices, or your dreams. So how can their journey be the standard for yours? It just doesn't make sense. Let me tell you something, if I had spent my energy focusing on what others were doing, I would have missed out on what I could do. Comparison paralyzes you. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and negativity. But when you stop comparing and start focusing on yourself, that's when the magic happens. You begin to grow. You begin to shine. What helped me was shifting my mindset. I realized that other people's success is not my failure. Their beauty doesn't take away from mine. Their talent doesn't diminish my value. Once I started celebrating others instead of competing with them, everything changed. I stopped seeing them as threats and started seeing them as inspiration. Because here's the thing, there's enough room for everyone to win. The world isn't a zero-sum game. Your light doesn't dim when someone else shines. And let me tell you, staying true to yourself is what makes you unforgettable. People don't remember you because you're like someone else. They remember you because you're you. I've learned that authenticity is the most attractive thing you can have. When you embrace who you are, your quirks, your flaws, your unique way of doing things, you become unstoppable. That's when you start standing out. But I know it's not always easy. Sometimes it feels like the world is constantly comparing you. Even if you're not comparing yourself, trust me, I've had my fair share of criticism. People love to put labels on you. They'll say things like, oh, she's just a dancer, or she's not as good as so-and-so. At first it hurt, but then I realized their opinions don't define me. I define me, and you define you. One of the most empowering things you can do is to focus on your journey and your growth. Ask yourself, what are your goals? What makes you happy? What sets your soul on fire? When you answer those questions and commit to pursuing your own path, you'll find that you don't have time or energy to compare yourself to anyone else. You'll be too busy working on becoming the best version of yourself. I also want to talk about gratitude because it's such a game changer. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, you start to see how blessed you really are. Gratitude shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance. It helps you realize that your journey, with all its ups and downs, is exactly what it's meant to be. You are exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And let me tell you something else, failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of it. Every stumble, every rejection, every setback, it's all shaping you, teaching you, and preparing you for what's next. When I look back on my journey, I'm grateful for the hard times because they made me stronger, they made me resilient. So if you're going through a tough time, don't compare your struggle to someone else's success. Instead, remember that your struggle is building you into the person you're meant to be. Lastly, I want to remind you of this: life is not a race, it's a journey. There's no timeline for success, no deadline for happiness, and no rule book for how to live your life. So take your time, trust the process, and most importantly, trust yourself. You are enough, just as you are. And the moment you stop comparing yourself to others is the moment you'll start to see just how amazing you truly are. Thank you. Keep shining, keep growing, and never forget you are one of a kind.